guys, what's up? Welcome back to another Planty video. My name is Shannon and this is Planted 386. Thank you so much for stopping by. I understand that there is a plethora of Planty content out on the internet already for you to enjoy. So anytime someone stops by here and spends a little bit of their time with me, I am always very, very grateful. Today is going to be a longer video, I think. We are going to be talking about Hoyas, and I am just going to be doing a Hoya update on all of the Hoyas in my collection. So some of them have grown insanely, some of them are not doing so well, and some of them are newer to the collection, and maybe you haven't seen them before. So without further ado, let's get into it. Before we get going, I hope you will consider subscribing and sticking around. It is a free way to help my channel grow. We are officially at 800 subscribers now, which is crazy, and so close to hitting 1,000. So if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, the subscribe button, or the share button, or all three. I would appreciate it so much. Thank you. So the first one I have is relatively new to my stash, to my collection. And this is Hoya globulosa. I'm actually going to take it, if I can, out of its cover pot because I really want to show you these amazing leaves. They look like something prehistoric from the dinosaur age. I think they are so interesting and so unique. I did pick this up from a local grower. Unfortunately, they don't sell online. But one of the cool things, in addition to the foliage of this Hoya, or the pattern, the venation, the shape of the leaves, all of the things, is that these leaves are also fuzzy too, which is something different to my Hoya collection. I don't believe I have any other fuzzy Hoyas that I can think of off the top of my head. And she has just got these amazing tendrils, and we're kind of all the way down here now. So this is the newest growth. I have been keeping her in my Millsbow cabinet because Hoyas can be a little bit finicky for me. Sometimes they do amazing, and sometimes it's just an all-out fail. And we'll get to some of those in a little bit. I also don't want to spend a ton of time on each one of these because this is already going to be a very long video, but anyways, this is the newest leaf off of this tendril here. In total, I have 3 tendrils, and I do plan on propagating this one. I kind of want to see how easy it is to propagate. It's also getting so tall, and in my opinion, it looks a little bit unruly just with this whole sparse stem here that I'm not really crazy about. So we're going to see what we can do about that. Maybe we can kind of fill out this little pot and see if we can, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with it yet. I just know that I'm not wild about the way that it's presented at this moment. And if you've been around here, you know that I love to style my plants in addition to growing them. So we've already spent a lot of time on this. I'll give you one more kind of look at those wonky leaves, and yeah, we're gonna move on. So the next one I have is a newer one as well. The newest ones that I have are gonna come out in this like little clip here because basically I've shown them recently and I just kind of want to get them out of the way. So this is a Hoya Nova Ghost, and I'm not feeling super promising about this one if I'm being honest, and I kind of felt that way from the moment that I received it. It did come in as a 2-leaf cutting. I did purchase this on 9/27 from Plant Proper. It's the first time that I've ever ordered from this particular, I believe they're an Etsy group or Etsy site, but I ordered it from Palm Street. So anyway, I am unsure if this is like, what do they call it? A phantom cutting, where it's just never going to produce a new vine. I'm kind of hoping for the best, but I'm really just sort of assuming this is going to stay as is. I mean, it's got a lovely root system coming in. We'll see, only time will tell. But if you have Hoya Nova Ghost, What's been your experience on growing it? I'm kind of disappointed because the reason that I purchased it is because of the beautiful foliage. I mean, look at the splotchiness of those leaves. Stunning. Absolutely stunning. I think I paid 20 bucks for it, so it's not like I'm at a huge loss, but still, I would love to see something happen here. And while it's rooting really well, let me see if I can get you guys in there, because maybe one of you Hoya heads out there will tell me if I'm just wasting my time or not. This is kind of, I don't know if you're going to be able to see. I literally see nothing happening, but this is kind of like what we're working with. Can you guys see in there? There is like what was going to be a growth point, and I don't know. Maybe one of you guys can help me out on that. The next one is this lovely gem here, who is already giving me a new shoot, and this is my most recent, and this is Hoya New Guinea Ghost, or Nicholsoniate New Guinea Ghost. It's already putting out a new shoot, which is so exciting, and that's kind of what I mean by when this came in, I felt really good about it from the beginning. I was like, yep, that's a nice, solid starter Hoya, and there's plenty of opportunity for growth points to happen here. And so, yeah, it's throwing off this beautiful little offshoot. And I think we're gonna have someday an amazing specimen. It's already starting to get that really pretty sun stress. I do have this in the Millsbow tall at the very top of the cabinet. And I purchased this from Canopy Plant Co. right off their website. And I unboxed it with you guys. I think it was my last video. So again, we're not gonna spend a ton of time. It was a wish list one, and I have been wanting that one for a long time. The next ones that I have are not new. They are definitely ones that you guys have seen before if you've been around. And the first one I'm gonna show you of that batch is actually, it's a two-part kind of thing. I'm not gonna show you guys propagations in this video, it's already, like I said, gonna be long enough. But I am gonna show you the Wilbur Graves, like, cutting and the main pot. Okay, so I bought this vine from a local grower, a local Hoya head, and what a beautiful Wilbur Graves, right? This came as a 2-leaf cutting. I believe it's those 2 leaves that are down at the very bottom there. I do have it growing in my homemade semi-hydro, and this thing really just took off right from the beginning. You can kind of see right there where I made a chop, and since then it has just totally started to take over. All these leaves are new again, and I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a second, but it's put out this beautiful vine, and there's leaves coming in on here, and my plan with this is to continue chopping from this vine in order to make a beautiful full pot of highly variegated Wilbur Graves, because I think the Wilbur Graves may be like top 3 of what I think are the most beautiful Hoyas. So this is the pot of Wilbur Graves cuttings that I have taken from that vine and added into this pot. So what happened was the main vine, I took the cuttings and I put them in. Some of the vines or some of the cuttings came out nicely variegated, and some of them just started to kind of go mostly green. So my hope is to keep cutting from here in hopes to sort of encourage a little bit more variegation, and then continue to chop from this original one, which is how this pot started, to fill out this pot with this beautiful splash of color. So that's kind of like my goal with it. I also love it in this pot. I think it looks so beautiful in here. And one thing I will say about the Wilbur Graves is it is an extremely easy Hoya to grow. At least in my care, it's in the carnosa family. So typically carnosas are really easy. They don't really require a whole lot. And I don't know, I just think this is stunning. You guys are probably gonna hear Samp, our boxer. He's roaming around doing as he does, making racket and chaos. And there's not a whole lot I can do in post to edit that. So if you hear little pitter-patter footsteps, I do apologize. Hopefully he'll lay down. The next one is my Hoya parasitica black margin. Also, all of these that I'm showing you right now are in my Mills Botal, and that is where I've been keeping them. That way I don't have to say it over and over again. Don't mind the trellis setup. These were all featured, not all of them, the newer ones weren't, but a lot of these were featured in my original Hoya collection video. So this is just kind of like an update to that. And in that video, this guy was pretty small, and I also mentioned that I have a really hard time growing this one. It's been pretty challenging for me, and it only seems to be happy in the cabinet. So I took a few cuttings from it, maybe not long after that video, and since then it's actually done quite a bit for me. So we have this really beautiful vine that's kind of finally taking over this trellis. One thing I've noticed though about this particular Hoya is it doesn't seem to, I don't know, it doesn't seem to love to be wrapped. Anytime I wrap this like prematurely, it seems to just like, what's the word? I don't know, like this vine here it put out, it's still there, but there's no sign of leaves coming. And it almost like wants to abort that stem. So I don't know, I just let this one do its thing. It is really beautiful. I got this from a private seller from a local plant swap, and it was actually one of the first Hoyas that I brought into my collection. So I kind of feel like it should be much bigger. I do have a really nice size cutting of this that I plan to pot together. This is also in my semi-hydro mix. Some of my Hoyas I grow in semi-hydro, some of them are in regular soil. It just kind of depends. I had a whole moment where I was really trying to convert a lot of my things into semi-hydro just because I had such a fungus gnat issue in the beginning of my journey. And that was kind of before I knew about soils and let's just say I have a preference of soil now that doesn't ever bring me fungus gnats. And so some things I have been converting back into the soil. This is just not one I like to mess with too much because she's been very finicky. The next one I have is my variegated Hoya Bella. This is the outer variegated. Another one that I've kind of struggled with. The Bella in general has taken me a little bit of time to kind of get used to. What I've realized is that this Hoya loves water. She does not like to dry out. If she does get too dry, she will immediately abort leaves. Can you guys see that? Like the missing spots. And so it's just something that you have to make sure you keep in some kind of cashpo. Always make sure that it has some water, and if it does, it will grow beautifully for you. I almost lost this plant. It was down to these tiny little sticks. It was a really beautiful full plant, and I think I may have shown that in that video, or it came after. I've definitely shown this on the channel in its prime. So that was a really sad blow because it was so beautiful. This is also a spider mite magnet. Both of my Bellas are, so just keep that in mind. You will have to treat this one periodically for spider mites, at least around here anyway. And yeah, I just think she's beautiful. I love the way this one grows, just kind of wild and does its own thing. The next one, let's see, I guess I will show you my wayetii because they are both interesting. So this is my variegated wayetii. I actually got this from Home Depot or Lowe's as a very full pot, and it just didn't do well for me. I ended up taking a cutting of it. This is the cutting that I took that has now kind of turned into its own little situation. I know it definitely needs to be repotted. I have it in just this tiny little disgusting looking vessel of pon, but if I'm being honest, a lot of times when I mess with Hoyas, they freak out. So before I do that, I will probably cut this up and just try to restart it in moss, then converting it to soil. I don't know. I think it's going to be very difficult to get this out of this jar at this point, and because it's been growing in semi-hydro, I'm just not sure how a transition to soil would go. I also know that if I transitioned it to a larger pot of pon, it's probably also going to freak out. So I figure I'll just probably chop it up, be safe, and then hopefully try to start over. The next one is the green form of the wayetii. This is actually pieces of this that I took that were not variegated. I was hoping to keep the variegation on this plant, and so anytime it put out leaves that weren't variegated, I cut them. And I've had this going for a while, this prop, and so far nothing. So I know Hoyas are a little slow to grow. Some of them can be. Wayetii just doesn't seem to love me. So it's one of those that I would love to see a full pot of it, but also I'm kind of leaning into growing plants in my collection that I find easy for me to grow and not having this struggle, this, oh, it's started, I repotted it, I got to start over. Like, I'm just not at that place anymore where I'm like willing to fight with plants in order for them to thrive. If it doesn't work out here in my care, then I'm just kind of looking to rehome some of these things. And these two may be on that list. I really love the variegated one. I think it is so stunning. So I may try again here. But this little guy is something that I may just end up bringing to like my local plant swap and seeing if it can find a better home, somebody who will be able to do better with it. And then similarly to that of the wayetii is the khroniana. Another one I really love, this is actually a cutting from a full pot. Here in Florida, we have the luxury of finding huge Hoyas at big box stores, and this is another example of a huge Hoya that I found. I hate the soil that they come in, you guys, from the big box store, so I always try to repot. And with Hoyas, you're really always just taking a risk doing that. And this is another one that just doesn't seem to love me. It doesn't seem to want to grow for me. The cutting is doing okay, but I don't know. I feel like it's a little floppy. I feel like I probably need to start again and just cut it up again and see if I can get, I don't know, you guys. This one's been really challenging for me, and I just love I love it. I love the shape of the leaves. I think they're so darling, but again, it just gives me like stress. So another one I may end up parting with. Okay, next is my Hoya cumingiana. She's a little wild. So this is another one that I had picked up from the big box store, and it had come on this really cute heart trellis. It may have even been on that heart trellis in my first Hoya video. Like, if you guys want to see how things have kind of evolved, maybe check out my Hoya collection video and then watch this one, because this is just kind of like an update to that. But anyways, this was in this really beautiful presentation, as they often do at the big box store, but it had like the artificial moss on top. Like, it was just a mess. The soil was a mess. So I ended up repotting it, and it freaked out. Yeah, it just freaked out. So I ended up trying to take some propagations. I really didn't have luck propagating it either. You can kind of see here where I tried again to propagate it, and it just doesn't seem to do well for me. I just kind of stuck it in the soil. I'm sure maybe if I tried it in moss, although I think I did try some in moss, and I just didn't have the best of luck. But this is one that just kind of grows wild, and I kind of love that about it. So what I ended up doing is I cut it back pretty much next to nothing, like just chopped it back. And when I tell you this thing grows like a weed, I mean that with every fiber of my being. This Hoya grows like a weed. I swear I can watch it grow. The one thing I don't love about it is, similarly to the Bella, is if it gets upset at any point of the journey, it will kind of shed leaves. And so you do get parts that are just sort of empty. I don't love that. It would probably be fine if I had it on a trellis, but this one seems to do better when I just let it kind of do its thing. So my end all vision for this one is to place it somewhere high where it's happy and it will just kind of grow as it may. I'm sort of thinking that it would look good on top of the hutch that I have in the dining room, but it doesn't get the greatest light up there. So until I add some form of artificial light or Barina lighting or whatever, I'm just kind of leaving it where it is. But yeah, it's really a fast grower. It's an easy Hoya, at least in my care. It's just, like most Hoyas, finicky about being repotted. I did pot it in this orchid pot to ensure that it had enough aeration at the roots, and it seems to be doing fine. So yeah, that's Hoya cumingiana. She's a wild one. This is one I don't really want to move, you guys, because when she is putting out new leaves, which you can kind of see right here, those look like roots, but those are actually new leaves coming in. And this is Hoya kerrii, the inner variegated one. And right now, you can see that tendril there. It is just kind of growing steady up. You can see a cute new leaf coming here, right there. And it's just so fragile. When these leaves emerge, they are just so delicate. I know it's hard to see. We won't spend a lot of time on it. I just don't want to pull it out. Okay, you guys, this one is beautiful. It has grown so much for me. It is become one of my favorite Hoyas to look at. The foliage is a little different. It is, obviously it is just beautiful with the splashing, but the leaves are actually paper thin. They're not thick and succulent like a Hoya typically is. So if that's something new to you or different to you, this might be something to look into. This is Hoya crassipetiolata super splash. I got that right. I think I got that right. And yeah, I just keep winding her around this little, it's like a little heart trellis that I just kind of rigged out of some wire that I had around. And I just can't get over how beautiful just this whole setup looks, at least I think. And yeah, just the overall splashiness of the leaves. She sits on my Vitstro shelf. These last few that I've shown you, the cumingiana, the Hoya kerrii, and this one, all sit on my Vitstro under Barina lighting. All of my plants are lit by Barina lighting. I really enjoy Barina lighting. I find it easy to work with, and my plants seem to do really well with it. Sorry about that, guys. The trash man's coming through, and you know, the dogs, even though the trash man comes 2 days a week for the last eternity, they still haven't learned to make nice with the trash man. So anyway, if you hear the trash man out there, that's what's happening. Lovely little Hoya. It's not one I see a ton either, and I could be mistaken, but it's just not one that I come across a ton. I did get this one from, I believe this was one I got from, I think it was Blue Moon, you guys. I think I got this from Blue Moon. Either Blue Moon or EFG Orchids, but I'm pretty sure this one came from Blue Moon. And I'm just so happy to see how well she has grown. Okay, so the next one I have to show you is actually super exciting for me. This is my Hoya Bella, just my regular green form Hoya Bella. And what's so exciting about this is one that, like I said, I really struggled with, and it has turned out to be something that I stare at constantly in my window. So when this started to get really good for me was when I decided to place it in the window right over here in the Planty corner, which, by the way, we're back in the Planty corner this week, you guys, which warms my heart. I love this little space so much. But yeah, I often do just come over and sit on this little cushion thing, and there's a window right here that provides a lot of beautiful light for the space, and this guy took off like wildfire once I placed it in that window. And that is something that I'm learning with Hoyas, is they seem to really love bright light. Some of mine actually, I mean, I guess it would all be considered filtered because it is coming through the window, but this gets direct light through the window and it seems to love it. And I find that to be the case with a lot of my Hoyas. In fact, some of my Hoyas outside actually get partial moments of direct light in the morning, and that's Florida sun. So yeah, I think they can take a lot more light than maybe we give them credit for. But she's just putting off little shoots and doing her thing, and the longer she gets, the happier I am. I think this is one I'm probably just going to continue to let trail. If you've been around, you know I love a good trailing plant. I just think they're so elegant. I love it in this little funky pot that I have it in. This is just a pot I found from Walmart, and I kind of made this like makeshift hanger because I didn't have a hanging planter at the time. And yeah, I think in the Hoya video, I only had about maybe this much of it. So it's really grown a lot in that time. And I want to say that's only been maybe 4 months ago or so that I filmed that video. Could have been a little longer, but anyway, she's a stunner. She brings me a ton of joy, and I just kind of can't wait to see where it goes. I would like to see a thicker pot, but I'm not mad about it. I think she looks really elegant. I do see some webbing in here, but I don't see any spider mites. So that could actually be just a little spider. In any case, I will probably just treat it. I do spray my Bellas down pretty regularly with my homemade kind of mite mix, I call it, and that seems to do really well. So another thing I didn't mention in the beginning was a lot of this damage you may see on these leaves, if you can see, was from spider mites, and I didn't catch it kind of in time. And yeah, anyway, the new foliage is coming in beautiful, so I really don't think it's spider mites, but nonetheless, I will treat it and we'll go from there. Okay, you guys, so the next ones are coming from my Blalladin cabinet, which is the cabinet that I have my huge Vitarifolium on. I do find that Anthurium seedlings and Hoya, especially Hoya cuttings, seem to really do well in this cabinet, and I think it's because the only thing that's really different is I am using the Barina pink lights on in that specific cabinet, as well as on my Vitstros, the shelf. So I don't know if that plays anything into it, but I know I said I wasn't going to show you cuttings of these Hoyas, but this is one I thought would be worth showing you. And this is, again, the other part of that Hoya parasitica black margin. And this is just the cutting, or a cutting, that I took from that that I showed you earlier that was giving me a ton of trouble, just not growing. And the cutting has done amazingly. As you can see, I just have it in moss. It's definitely well rooted, and I'm thinking ready for its transition to soil. So that is definitely something that I plan on doing maybe today after the video. I'm kind of setting some of these aside just to kind of redo them, hope for the best. And my goal is to continue to chop from that main plant in an effort to sort of start over in soil and fill out a really nice pot, because this is I just think this is such a beautiful Hoya. I love the black margin. I love the splashiness. I love the shape of the leaves and how they kind of, I don't know, I just think they're so pretty. So pretty. And the more mature they get, the larger the leaf. Like, it's a stunner. So that's that one. Next is one that I've struggled with the entire time that I've had it. I don't know why. I've moved it into different substrates. I've tried it in different spots. It seems to be happiest in this cabinet of all the places that I've put it, but it's done nothing. Like, it continues to do nothing. And this is my Hoya Sunrise. So if you have this one, let me know what your experience is with it. It is a thinner leafed Hoya, and I don't know if maybe that's part of it. Maybe for me, I don't do so well with thinner leaf Hoyas, but I do have some thin leaf Hoyas that are doing fine. So it's like, is it just this plant, you know? I do believe that you can get plants that are just of low genetics, that like no matter what you do, it's just never really going to become something. And so I wonder if that's kind of what's going on here. Perhaps it has flat mites and I don't have a loop to find out. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. But the more I have it, the longer I have it, the less intrigued I am by it. And again, it just kind of brings, it's one I take care of, but it doesn't necessarily bring me joy. And I think part of it is because I feel like I've done all the things and it just doesn't seem to like me. So this is another one that I may pass off. This was also the first day that I got Hoya. It was the parasitica black margin from a plant swap private seller, and I think I picked up this one too at the same time. So I think I only paid like $5 a piece for them. They weren't expensive. This was just like a 2 or 3 leaf cutting. So it did grow some, but I've had this for a couple years now, and I just feel like it should be doing better. The last ditch thing that I can do with some of these before just letting them go is to place them outside. Maybe the added humidity of the outside will do great things for this, but you guys will have to let me know down below what your experience is with the Hoya Sunrise. And then I have 2 left. The next one is this Australia, where's my words? Where are they? Hoya Australis Lisa. And she is by far one of my most favorites. This was, again, a beautiful pot that I got from a local grower, EFG Orchids. I mention a lot of the same growers. We talk about this a lot. That's just because I do like to support my local growers. But my goodness, I mean, what a stunning Hoya. Can we just take a second to appreciate these leaves? And then also when the leaves come in, they're this beautiful, bright, vibrant, pinky coral, like just stunning, absolutely stunning. There are moments when this grows like wildfire, and then there's moments where she kind of slows down and takes her time. I do have her in semi-hydro. I do see some kind of yucky roots in there, and so I'm thinking this is one that I may repot, but also try to propagate at the same time, just because something I've learned with growing Hoyas is anytime you're going to repot, take some cuttings, take some insurance cuttings, because they really are very finicky when it comes to being repotted, at least in my experience. And I think I'm just I don't know. I've done my semi-hydro, no drainage experience. I enjoy it for certain plants. I do think there's a place for it, but I was in a place where I was having such good luck with it in the beginning that I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to transfer everything over. And these were early days, and it probably wasn't my best move. So yeah, some of them I am wanting to transition. Plus, finding vessels large enough for plants and no drainage semi-hydro as they mature is pretty challenging, at least, I don't know, for me. So yeah, anyway, she's a beauty. I think every leaf just looks just like hand painted. I don't know. It's absolutely stunning. I kind of wish I don't know, that cabinet over there is now so covered in anthuriums, just huge anthurium leaves that you don't really get to see into it that well. As my anthuriums grow and mature, they are surely taking up a ton of space, and but I could maybe move her. She just likes that light so much. And then the last one I have to show you from that cabinet is my Hoya carnosa Crimson Queen. And this is one I definitely want to see, like I want a full pot. I want a huge full pot of Crimson Queen. I don't know, I love it. I know this is such a common Hoya, probably like everybody and their mother has it, but there's a reason. It's so easy, it's so forgiving. It's in moss right now. This is just a cutting. I think, where did I get this cutting? I think I got it at a plant swap. I think it was just a couple leaves, and yeah, it's grown really well for me. It's grown really well for me. I think it's ready for soil, so I'm going to set her aside as well, and I think she's going to move into her big girl pot today. But with my Hoyas, okay, next is Hoya Khroniana Super Silver or Super Splash. Another one just doesn't like me, you guys. Doesn't want to live for me, doesn't want to do anything for me. I was trying to get a nice full pot of it, and yeah, it's one I'm going to have to restart over. I can just tell by these floppy leaves that their roots, it's just there's something going on, and it didn't like the repot. It didn't take. So it's kind of unfortunate. There's definitely, you know, water in the substrate. I actually have a layer of semi-hydro, some soil. I know there's enough aeration in there. It's just, I don't know. It's just like a Hoya thing. I either get along with them or I don't. It's really unfortunate though, because the foliage on this specific Khroniana is so beautiful, and I was really hoping to get like a nice full pot of it, but yep, just another project. That's what I got, another project. Okay, so the next three come from my cacti succulent window, which is in front of the couch here. It's pretty much the main window that we have in the house. It provides the most light, and the light gets pretty intense, especially in the winter months when the sun is lower in the horizon. The light really can peer in at times. So the first one I have to show you is Hoya Mathilde. And this is a Hoya that I personally adore. You know, and she does have slightly fuzzy leaves about her. So I guess you could say I have two Hoyas in my collection that have slightly fuzzy leaves. Hers aren't nearly as fuzzy as globulosa, but this is, in my opinion, a pretty common Hoya at this point. I think you can probably find this at most growers or Palm Street. It's pretty easily accessible. She has some really lovely roots in the vessel, and yeah, I just think she's so cool. And I think that I did take cuttings from her. Her vines were really long, just like trailing past the vessel. But I don't know, I wanted to try growing it in soil. So, and I also enjoy experimenting with propagation with a lot of my plants. I haven't delved into anthuriums just because a lot of my anthuriums I'm trying to hybridize, play around with just pollination. So yeah, I haven't really messed with my anthuriums, but for the most part, I enjoy, experimenting with propagation, and this one propagated very easily for me. And I just think it's such a cool Hoya. I think the foliage is absolutely beautiful. So yeah, and I love her little coin, her little round coin leaves. And it's one that doesn't really seem to require trellising. I also love Hoyas that don't require a trellis, that seem to just like to grow wild, because I don't know, I think personally for me, I prefer a wild Hoya. Some of them look beautiful on trellises. I've seen some really pretty trellised Hoyas, but for the most part, I just like to see them growing in their like wild form, doing their thing. And for the most part, they seem to like it. They seem to like it. I do have a few coming up, too, that are on trellis. But yeah, I don't know. There's just something about a wild Hoya doing her thing. I think this would look lovely literally anywhere. I have her, like I said, in a very bright window. She seems to enjoy it. Also, another fun tip, if you've been around, you know that none of my Hoyas have ever bloomed for me. And in a little bit, we're going to go outside, because some of my largest Hoyas are outside. And even my largest Hoyas haven't bloomed for me. But Hoya Mathilde has come close on a couple occasions, but for whatever reason, she aborted and I didn't get the bloom. So hopefully someday I will get to see some blooms on some of these Hoyas. But honestly, you guys, when it comes to Hoyas, for me, it's about the foliage. Like when I buy a Hoya, it's about the foliage, because I'm not really expecting the bloom, you know? It hasn't happened yet. Anyways, this is my Hoya macrophylla variegata, or this is the outer variegated Hoya macrophylla. Absolutely beautiful. This is a combination of a cutting I got from a good friend of mine and a piece that I got from a local grower. I put them both in the same pot, and this is beautiful to me. She recently had mealy bugs, which was like, it came as such a surprise, because I typically don't have issues with mealy bugs. I'm pretty careful about it, and I really look things over before bringing them home. And I know sometimes you're gonna miss it, but these just kind of popped up out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere. I treated it with alcohol, and so far, just kind of looking over, I don't see any. So I think we're pretty good. I think we're in the clear. But yeah, just an overall beautiful Hoya, easy to grow. I do find that this one loves that window that I put it in. I've kind of moved her around different spots, and it seems that the brighter the light, the more light she gets, the happier she is, and the more leaves she throws out, the more vines she throws out. If you can kind of see right here, we have one coming in. We have one coming in here, a leaf. We have one coming down here. And we have one coming over here. So yeah, also when these leaves come in, they are stunning. My goodness, that like pink that just pops. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, you guys. And again, this is one, it's pretty common nowadays. It has grown a ton for me since that initial video, and it is one that I do keep on a trellis. I find that it does seem to like being trellised. It doesn't necessarily abort the vine when I trellis it, unlike some of my other Hoyas. But with my Hoyas, it's not the same. Some like to be trellised, some seem to not like to be trellised. Some are easy to grow, some are not easy to grow. Some prefer this, some prefer that. So, it's kind of a learning curve, and it's one of those things where I feel like you really have to kind of get to know each Hoya before really getting somewhere with it, if that makes sense. Let me know if you guys have that same experience, because I do see some Hoya collectors out there with these like amazing Hoyas, and some of them seem to have like no troubles, but for me, I feel like some give me more of a run for my money than others. Speaking of which, this is Hoya quinquenervia. She is a part of the latifolia family and very dusty. She could use a good dusting. Anyways, this one has grown so much for me since that initial video. I moved her to that very bright window, and from that moment on, she really just took off. So yeah, it's another one where I find that if I wrap the vine too soon, it gets angry. It gets angry and it will abort the leaves. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. Pretty happy to see how far we've come here. I think in that initial video, it was like maybe just this much. And so for it to be like fully wrapping around the trellis now and putting out these really beautiful, massive latifolia leaves, that brings me a ton of joy. So yeah, to see these leaves just like maturing and getting large and in charge brings me a lot of joy. Tells me I'm doing something right. Definitely needs to be dusted. I will do that before I put it back. I also have it growing in semi-hydro. It's a little top heavy, so like the trellis isn't even like in here. I could probably add a little bit more semi-hydro to this. I've also thought about propagating this one just to kind of see if I can restart in soil, just to see how that goes. And yeah, that's this one, Hoya latifolia quinquenervia. Okay, so this is another large window that we have in the house, and I do have khroniana here. This is the khroniana that I took the one little cutting from that I had in that little cup that I said, you know, it's hard to say because some of them seem to be like putting out new leaves, but then like you guys, this was a full pot. And you can just see where there's yellowing, there's just stuff going on, but I don't want to mess with it because like I said, I do see some new growth coming. So I'm just kind of hopeful that this is going to enjoy more sunlight coming in through this window. Like I said, as the summer fades to fall to winter, you know how it goes. The sun gets lower into the horizon and you definitely get more light through the window. So yeah, I'm hoping I can fill this pot out. Maybe I will, I don't know. We'll see. I don't really love the way it looks currently. And then up here, I have Hoya variegata, and she's starting to do stuff. So I potted her into this pot. She did not seem to like it at first, and I did lose a little bit of the plant, similarly to what I just showed you with that khroniana. But since putting her in this really bright window, and she faces it too, like I have her kind of set like that, she's just started to really take off. Like I can see some new growth happening here. I see a whole new little situation happening here. And it's interesting because this Hoya seems to grow like, I don't know, I love when it puts out these little clusters, you know? It just kind of makes the plant look a little bit fuller. And I must say, I was really hoping that I would get a beautiful lush pot of this specific Hoya, because I do find this one is a little bit harder to come across. It is a little more on the rare side, and I just think it's stunning. I just think it is an absolutely beautiful Hoya. Yeah, and then this one here, another one that's given me nothing but trouble, a run for my money. She loves to collect the spider mites. This is Hoya Polynora Splash. And yeah, I have a new little couple of leaves coming here. She again seems to much prefer this spot, this corner. And since then, she has definitely given me a few new leaves, but this is one similarly to Bella that I feel like I have to spray constantly for spider mites. I don't know if that's just me, but another reason why I kind of have her like separated out on her own, she's kind of over here. I'm just kind of hoping that I can get this going because I think like mature, beautiful, huge pots of this plant is just like goals. It's so beautiful. It's definitely something that I want so bad, but yeah, I just seem to struggle with this Hoya. I think we're on the up and up now. I'm just gonna leave it alone and never repot it and continue to just let it do its thing. Okay, you guys, so we're coming into my pergola, or our pergola. This is a newer one to my collection. Don't mind any mess out here that you see because it is fall, leaves are dropping at an epic rate. And we also had the hurricane not so long ago, and we really just haven't had the time to tidy all of this up. I actually did tidy it up, and then the leaves are they're just relentless. But this is Hoya lacunosa. This is one that I got from the big box and kind of learned my lesson from the first time, or first few times. I just didn't repot it. I just put it right outside in the direct humidity, no different than it was at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever it was that I picked it up. And so far, so good. You can definitely tell like where I like squirt the hose at the top where this is kind of balding, but she's putting out new growth everywhere. I think it's gonna be fine. And what I plan to do here is I plan to take a few cuttings, just see if I can get them started as insurance in case for some reason this goes south. And yeah, I love the little delicate leaves. I do struggle with the delicate leaves. I don't know, it's just harder to grow these, I feel like. But yeah, I think I ended up paying like $20 or $24 for her. And she seems to be doing really well. And over here is my Hoya carnosa rope in the variegated form. And this one, I have noticed, seems to prefer like the latter months of summer coming into fall. And that's usually when I see growth on my ropes. Other than that, they stay pretty uneventful for most of the year until, like I said, the specific time of year is when I tend to get the growth. I've got a whole new vine coming here. I was a little concerned about this one because for the longest time it did nothing. But yeah, I think we're on the up and up. And then this is my green form rope. She has gotten so long, so long. Yeah, I've had these for about 1.5 years, each of them. I got them around the same time, again from a local grower. And really just hoping that I can get some blooms because, man, these blooms are so beautiful. I've seen them online, of course, and it would just make me so happy. And then next up, we have one of my pride and joys. So this is my Crimson Princess, Hoya carnosa Crimson Princess. She went through a little spout, I think with some overwatering. I think just the added moisture and humidity of the hurricane and just, she kind of looked like this a little bit last year where, I don't know, she just didn't seem super happy. She loves the summer months so much. She grows like crazy here. It's really hard to even get a full, that's probably the best shot I'm gonna be able to get, you guys. Literally goes down to the floor. All of the new growth seems amazingly healthy. Love how those new leaves come in. And this has just been nothing but a joy. Like, it has just been so easy to grow. Every time I cut it, it seems to come back with vengeance and even thicker. what happens is I get some of these vines that want to revert, and so anytime I see these, I cut them, and usually it works out in my favor that I get variegation. So I think too, maybe her vines just got a little too tangled amongst each other, and that's what's kind of causing some of this browning and like yucky looking stuff. I really need to just get out here and kind of tend to her a little bit. We've just been so busy with everything, and yeah, just had a lot going on, but I just think she is so magical. My last three are in this corner, and this is my most prolific, my largest Hoya. Let me just move this cushion so you can kind of take it all in. I do have her on, believe it or not, she's on a pretty large, very tall trellis. And I've just wrapped it and wrapped it and wrapped it so many times that I literally can't even wrap it anymore. So now her vines are just kind of like growing about. I probably need to trim all of this, but there are some vines that are putting out like leaves. I don't know. Like I said, I like to see them kind of like do their thing and kind of grow crazy. Hoyas are the exception to that, because most of the time I really enjoy just like styling my plants and finding like the perfect pot and all of that. Like, look how massive these leaves are becoming. Like, the more mature she gets, and some of the splashing is just like incredible. The new leaves do come in this really pretty purple. And she's kind of coming into her slow time where, you know, she's not going to do a whole lot now. She's been knocked over numerous times due to the winds that we get here, living kind of close to the beach, just with storms, and she thrives on nonetheless. I mean, like I said, some of these are not even attached to anything. They're just hanging on the floor. It's definitely one I need to get out here and tidy up. But she is definitely stunning. She's beautiful. And believe it or not, she has never ever bloomed for me. Never, not once. So, it's very interesting. She sun stresses amazing. And yeah, I love her. She's something. And then this is Hoya Chelsea that I have kind of hanging here. She's doing great. She's kind of starting to stretch out her legs. When I first got her, she was pretty, like, she was just really full. Like, the pot looked really, really full, and that's just because like everything was kind of up here. Since then, she's thrown out so many vines that she's literally growing around herself. But yeah, she's thrown out vines. That's why she looks, I think, a little bit leggy or a little bit stretched. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is a really fun Hoya to grow. I wouldn't say this is like a must-have. I mean, her leaf shape is different, which is kind of cool. But while I love her, I'm not gonna say like she's you know, a pride and joy or like one of my favorites. Even though she is one of my larger Hoyas, I think she's cool. I definitely think she's cool. She's unique. Her leaves are different than any of my others. This is driving me crazy. I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't make you suffer anymore. I just like had to untangle it. Yeah, it's one that I'm happy to have, but it's not one that I would like go seeking out to find, if that makes sense. She does have a new little vine coming out there, and I mean, I am excited to see where this goes. It does propagate pretty easily. I have propagated this one. And yeah, that's her. And then right next to her is my Hoya Bertoniae F. Another one I got is like a huge plant, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's gone downhill a little bit. It's one I probably should take some cuttings of for insurance, but it is now starting to seem like it's doing okay. So yeah, I feel like this one prefers less water, and maybe I was perhaps over watering it. Yeah, it's okay. And then this sad little situation is Hoya curtisii. What I have left of it is just this tiny little section of what was, as you can see, a beautiful full pot. I have tried to grow this Hoya numerous times, you guys, numerous times, and it just, I don't know. It's another one that just doesn't seem to do well for me. These leaves that are shaped like this, I don't know what it is. Genuinely, I don't know. They just seem to not like me, but I refuse to give up on it. I'm just kind of letting it, you know, do its thing. I have thought about taking cuttings and just like throwing it in the prop box just to see if I can get a little bit more, and then perhaps put it in an actual pot that's like appropriate for the size. But I love the way these leaves sun stress. I mean, they're really beautiful, really beautiful. All right, guys, that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed your time, make sure you like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, all the things. It's just an easy, free way to help my channel grow. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.